In a time of blight, demons, political unrest, poverty, and war, the only thing that can unite the land is an Inquisition.
Shadows fall and hope has fled. Steel your heart, the dawn will come. The night is long and the path is dark. Look to the sky for one day
The only destiny here that demands respect is mine.
Just say what?
What is that? For your life! I'm not afraid.
I have seen the throne of the gods, and it was empty.
dawn will come.
Dragon Age Inquisition is the third in this series and a massive RPG brought to us by BioWare, the makers of Mass Effect.
The first game, Dragon Age Origins, was a deep and turbulent journey for your character. And also for the companions you took along the way and tried to have sex with.
And while Dragon Age 2 took a new direction that didn't quite hit the mark with fans, it's clear that BioWare has listened, and listened well. Inquisition is more like Origins 2 than Dragon Age 3, and this is a very good thing.
Bit of a spoiler warning, we're going to talk about some of the companions you recruit, but we're not going to talk about the most exciting part of this game, the epic story. Or in my case, the story of one buck-toothed dwarf who fought against evil.
The Inquisition requires a leader, the one who has already been leading it.
And tried to have sex with everyone.
You're flattering me.
I'm not.
So lovely and selfless.
Really, you give me too much credit.
My blade pretty much protects me.
Perhaps I can do things your blade can't. You're not interested in a dashing dwarven rogue?
I'm thinking less flattering things now.
Wow, Barto, you sly dog. Well, not really, I guess.
Yeah, he's a bit creepy.
You should see your face.
All right, well, let's get into it, Barjo. The Blight have gone underground, awaiting the rise of their new archdemon. But just when things seemed calm, this happened.
We call it the Breach. It's a massive rift into the world of demons that grows larger with each passing hour.
You find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and somehow you're the sole survivor of a blast which caused this tear in the sky.
It's quickly discovered that these rifts are everywhere, and the mark on your hand is somehow connected to them.
Each time the Breach expands, your mark spreads.
This leads people to both worship and distrust you, which creates a lot of issues for you and your party. So it's time to put together an Inquisition of heroes, leaders, and those who just want to help your cause and put a stop to these rifts once and for all. But in a world full of racism, fear of magic, and political power struggles,
Shut your mouth, mate!
Enough!
this is no easy task, and you won't be able to keep everyone happy.
The Maker would send no dwarf in our hour of need.
Enough!
The good news is, you get to choose how the events play out.
What it means to you, how you lead us, that is for you alone to determine.
Characters will remember the things you say and do and probably hold it against you at some point.
Give me one reason to trust you.
I want to know everything about every character in this game, Hex.
Yeah, me too. I mean, no one is a blank slate, and the writing and the voice acting is just excellent, isn't it?
Absolutely. And whenever there's a cameo from previous games,
Varric Tethras, rogue, storyteller, and occasionally unwelcome tag-along.
Apparently there are 80,000 lines of dialogue this time.
yeah, it's actually a bit daunting knowing there's that much conversation ahead of you. I especially like the villains.
You are the survivor, yes? The one from the Fade? Interesting.
Oh, he's bad, gonna get him later. But most of all, I like that none of the villains in this game are bad or evil just for the sake of it. Each character you meet or fight alongside with has their own history, hopes and dreams, and weaknesses.
Felix, are you all right?
Yeah, I think that's key to why these stories are so compelling, and that's also what keeps you involved. You can't tune out of a cutscene because a conversation choice might come up that you really should have paid attention to.
Is not a beneficiary of this arrangement.
Yeah, and I think the dialogue is snappy enough that you don't actually want to skip anything anyway. And there's almost always room for exploring more dialogue options if you want to, including companion recruitment. My favourite so far is the instantly likeable Sarah.
It's just a name, yeah? So here, in your face, I'm Sarah.
She's a commoner thief archer who's part of a movement of small but many fighters.
Here's how it is. You important people are up here, shoving your cods around, blah blah, I'll crush you, ooh, crush you.
She even has her own bard song.
She would always like to say,
Want help with that?
why change the past when you could on this day? Today she will fight to keep her way. She's a rogue and a thief and she'll tempt your fate.
I am quite in love with her, Hex, IRL as well as IGL, in game life. And when I finally struck up the courage to try a bit of romance, I got this.
I hope you'll feel the same.
Not even. Get to work, Herald.
Well, maybe she's dwarfist.
You're all dwarfy. I don't mean nothing, but you're down there. I mean, it's all good, isn't it?
I'm actually legit upset about it, and every time that I do something that she even slightly disapproves of, it causes me pain IRL.
Well, you've got to get to know a lady first, Barjo. And that is actually true because your team won't always like your decisions based on their own personal history and beliefs.
I could at least find out what the mages want.
No doubt what they've always wanted. Support for their cause.
And even though we're far from finishing this game, it's reasonable to assume that this will have real and possibly gut-wrenching ramifications later down the track.
Did I do the right thing?
I was so pleased to discover you can turn off the tone indicators in conversations now. That was something that always bugged me about the Mass Effect series, and it's personal preference, but I just like not seeing a visual indication of my intention. This way, you really need to trust your gut more with the decisions you make. And there'll be ones that you just agonize over.
Glad to see traitors are dealt with quickly.
In an effort to address the cross-generation platform issue from the last games to this, BioWare have created the Dragon Age Keep. You can't use your old save files, but the Keep attempts to import around 200 of 300 choices from the previous games. And if you can't find those choices, you can go through manually and make changes. Then you can play out a beautiful video narrated by Varric.
Hawk saved Kirkwall and earned the grudging respect of the city's Templars, mages, and nobility.
I thought the lack of a save file import might upset fans, Barjo, but then I guess you're not playing as the same character through all three like in the Mass Effect games.
Yeah, it's more about the world really, but having said that, if for some reason your previous choices didn't sync, then trying to remember everything that you did is really hard. I can't remember anything about what my Hawk got up to in Dragon Age 2, except he was a bit mean.
Alright, we need to talk about how beautiful this game is.
Oh yes. Now this is made with the Frostbite engine, which powers Battlefield 4, amongst other games, and also a vegetation engine called Speedtree, which has been used in many games and movies as well, from Avatar to Star Trek. The result is an incredible looking world that scales surprisingly well for older hardware too.
Yes, I needed a small drool bucket for in front of my keyboard while I was playing this. It's just stunning at every turn. This isn't an open world, it's a series of massive zones stitched together. Deserts, hills, forests, and extravagant cities, and of course, dark, gritty dungeons through which you must crawl.
Oh, it's so pretty. It's the reactive lighting and the fidelity of the visuals that really impressed me. Everything is just so crisp. From the freckles on characters' skin to the massive castles off in the distance, it's just a joy to clop through this lifelike land.
I don't know that I was quite prepared for the high-res texture of Varric's chest hair, though.
I've got to admit, that's a twist I didn't see coming.
Manly. The cinematic style of the choice-driven cutscenes show off the high character detail well too. But they all do drop down to 30 frames per second and lock off there, which is noticeable at first. Maybe lower cutscene detail and higher frame rate there would have helped with those transitions. It's just a bit jarring and annoying.
Yeah, agreed. Otherwise, it's silky smooth, especially out in the world. Oh, Barjo, I did many slow pans.
Hex, I don't know if we have time for slow pans. We've got so much to talk about. Better make them quick pans.
Okay. Pretty. Yay.
Right, let's talk about what you'll be doing in this game. In between closing rifts and sorting out political squabbles.
And you're worried about land claim.
You'll be running from bears, collecting herbs, chasing rams, running from bears, fighting zombies and Templars, running from bears, crafting gear, horsey races, and being killed by bears. There's a lot to do. And finally, you can jump. Oh, I jumped everywhere, Hex.
The Inquisition appreciates your assistance in this matter.
As you explore, quests will pop up on your map. You won't quite stumble into dungeons like with Skyrim, it's a little more structured than that. Even so, I found myself just wandering, noticing fights in the distance, and then trying to sort out what was going on.
Wow, we can watch, yeah?
And the most important thing is, as you're moving through this land, you feel like you're actually changing things. You'll be helping out the little guy one day,
Going to be a long, hungry night.
and then fighting to save the world from an abominable evil the next. Opening up new locations is done within the frame of the Inquisition and what you do in your war room.
Yes, you have a lot of meetings, don't you?
Yes, but I really like this idea. Sending out agents for rewards and recruiting randoms in the field when the opportunity presented itself. And it reinforces the main story all the time, which is so important in big RPGs.
So you don't read my letters?
You're no longer my prisoner, much as you like to act like it.
At the time of review, we're only about 25-30 hours into the game, so we haven't seen how all the story plays out, but I'm having a good time so far.
Yeah. Plus, as you adventure, you can have 3 companions with you, and they'll all just chat with each other as you wander about.
I love it when they bicker.
Me too.
Who's a bitch?
Charming.
Fact.
There are 3 main classes: Mage, Rogue, and Warrior. But each of these have subset classes, so a rogue can be an archer or more up close and personal. A warrior can sword and board or use a two-hander. They're all pretty fun, and with so many trees and paths, there's massive room for developing your own party strategies.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices to really make your character your own. I restarted this game about 10 times just trying to pick a race and build a face, let alone a class.
How much is this going to cost me exactly?
I did find that the mages are instantly exciting as they dance with magic and unleash devastating abilities. Spectacular.
Yeah, those sword and board hits though, Barjo, so rewarding. I mean, it's classic dungeon crawling combat, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and there's heaps of gear to play with too. The crafting system is a little hard to get your head around, and even after days of play, I still struggle a bit just trying to equip gear on my heroes. But these are minor criticisms, really. What matters is when you're out in the thick of it, evil gets smited.
Yes, and brilliantly. There's bonuses for mixing abilities, such as freezing an enemy with a mage and then shield bashing them, or putting up an ice wall to block archers and slow enemies while your team focus fires on another. Throw in some upgradable potion grenades, such as a jar of bees, and it's a rich banquet of fantasy combat to discover. Your AI buddies do need a little bit of looking after at times, especially when ranged gets too close to the action. Or if there's a lot of vegetation or debris around, that can cause some issues too. I just never tire of these fights though, Barjo.
Yeah, me neither. They've cleaned up the user interface as well, so you can just play this in real time with all the information you need on screen. You can lock onto enemies now, which is fantastic for ranged, but I found playing as a warrior, it was just a bit too hectic with that camera so close. Healing potions have been balanced with a cap, so you can only hold a finite number of them. It adds a lot of real threat to the fights as well.
Yes, the days of potting through a fight you're not quite ready for are gone, and this is actually for the better.
But where the combat truly shines is when you're in trouble. And happily, the strategic isometric view that made the PC version of Origins stand out above the rest is here for all platforms. This turns the game into a chessboard of infinite moves as you plot out attacks, angles, and quickly save those who are about to fall. So you can play Inquisition on normal or casual and still have a decent enough challenge, but playing on hard opens up so many strategic necessities. It's ultimately a richer experience.
It really is, and without feeling hard for no reason either. Plus, it's so visually exciting to move about a fight with time paused like that.
One thing I noticed which had changed is that the combat tactics have actually been simplified a bit. And at first I was a bit miffed by that, but looking back, it actually wasn't that fun sifting through all of those tactics.
Totally, I welcome that change. Yes, it is a bit simpler, but I think the AI has improved enough to compensate for that and let you focus on solid, balanced strategy, rather than fiddling with what were essentially a series of if-then combat rules.
There's just so much more we could talk about with this game. So many tweaks to the fighting systems, and even 25-30 hours in, we're still discovering new mechanics and things to do. But we should talk about the multiplayer, which is here for the first time, and designed off the surprisingly fun Mass Effect 3 co-op, but with a dungeon crawler theme.
Oh, I am out of potions.
Uh-oh.
This guy.
Come to me, come to me.
Coming.
Rewards are completely separate from the main game, though, and we weren't able to spend much time with it at the time of review.
Run, run, run. Oh, he's the big guy. Run away, run away, run, run!
But what we did play was certainly engaging.
Yeah, it was thrilling seeing those Dragon Age mechanics play out with players controlling each of the party members.
Oh, take that, scum.
Oh, yes. We are a sick team.
But we should wrap this up. What do you think overall, Hex?
Well, this is a big meal to digest and a massive accomplishment of RPG design and scale. But most importantly, the stories are there, with writing that's filled with drama, but also levity and humanity as well. Also, I have so many horses to unlock. I'm giving this 10 out of 10.
It wasn't until months after I finished the first game, Origins, that I realized how important it actually was to me. And all of those characters, they felt like my real life friends. And I'm starting to get that vibe with this too, just on a much grander scale. I love this game. I'm giving it 10 out of 10 as well. We got a big 10.
We almost got to the end of the year without a double 10, Barjo.
That would have been so sad.
That's crazy.
Also, if we get a game which is 1 or 0 out of 10, we can use this.
That is true.
Efficient.